The unit base blared with alarms, and everywhere soldiers were dashing to and fro, stocking up crates and moving them all around. In the main control hub, the Brigadier oversaw everything, glancing on occasion to the doctor who was sat in the corner staring at the floor. He had a look about him that Stewart found incredibly uncomfortable, like a deep-seated regret. And every so often the Time Lord would glance at him for just a moment. It was never for long enough for him to register the doctor's expression, but he knew what it looked like. Finally, he closed his clipboard and handed it to Carson, who dashed off with it, and Stewart crossed the room to join the doctor. "Damn frightful business, eh, Doctor?" he said, merely to break all the silence. The doctor didn't respond. "Come on, old man. I didn't call you in to sit in the corner and sulk. This Skaldak fellow, who is he?" The doctor sighed heavily and leant back in his chair. "He's an ice warrior, a soldier from the planet Mars," he explained. "What? A Martian?" Stewart scoffed. "Well, that's a bit anticlimactic, Doctor. I always expect something a little more spectacular with you." The doctor glanced over to him. "Not every alien race are mutated green blobs in bonded polycarbide armor, Brigadier," he smirked. "No, this one is just your galactic neighbor. He fell to the Earth thousands of years ago, trapped in the ice shelf before a Russian submarine excavated him during the Cold War." The doctor leant forward and tented his fingers. But the scientists aboard the sub wouldn't wait to thaw him, and Skaldak was freed too soon. I happened upon the sub, well, one of my earlier faces anyway. I was trying to defuse the situation when one of the Russian soldiers attacked him. He stared coldly at the frozen image of Skaldak on the monitor. "Harm one of us, and you harm us all," he recited. "That's what the Ice Warrior said," Stewart pointed out. "Martian law, Brigadier," the doctor explained. "Any race who dishonors the Martian Empire is forfeit, and the commanding officer at the time is obligated to enact total war against them. Skaldak was going to launch a nuclear warhead at the height of the Cold War. The resulting confusion would have caused the utter extermination of the human race." "But you stopped him?" the Brigadier asked hopefully, and the doctor chuckled to himself. "I thought I did," he sighed. "I thought I'd convinced Skaldak to walk away, to prove himself the better man. I never once thought when he returned to Mars he'd have to make a report to Martian High Command. He showed mercy, and mercy is dishonorable for an Ice Warrior. They've stripped him of all of his ranks, titles, and cast him from Mars, banished for all time, and he blames me for that." The doctor ran his fingers back through his hair and straightened his jaw. "Maybe he's right too." Just then Carson returned. It was clear he'd been running. "Sir, it's started," he reported.
"Former Grand Marshal Skaldak to Martian High Command. Are you receiving me?"
Skaldak tapped at his controls with thick and cold fingers. All around him computers and monitors bleeped and whirled, while his clunky armor stomped away across the room to the main communication hub.
"I repeat, this is former Grand Marshal Skaldak to Martian High Command."
Skaldak's lips quivered, and his breath crackled as the image slowly began to form before him. Another Ice Warrior. He couldn't tell who.
"This is Martian High Command,"
the Ice Warrior responded.
"State your business."
Skaldak stomped over to the monitor and stood directly before it.
"This is Skaldak. I have an urgent message for the Ice Lord,"
he hissed. The responding Martian tapped at his own controls before glancing back to the screen.
"Communication with the Ice Lord is forbidden. You are banished," it said, and Skaldak growled. "I am in the process of exacting Martian law upon the planet known as Earth. I seek clemency for my dishonor," he explained. "As stated in Section 12, Subsection 9, Paragraph 16 of the Martian Doctrine, the dishonored may be pardoned upon the successful correction of his misdoings. Confirm with the Ice Lord."
The screen faded for a moment, and the powerful Ice Warrior could feel himself twitching nervously within his armor. It felt like an age before the responding warrior reappeared upon the monitor.
"Your claim has been confirmed. Rerouting contact now,
he reported, and the screen hissed and fuzzed once more. Skaldak allowed himself a cold smile of satisfaction, one which faded almost immediately when the image returned. Before him now was another Martian, but no ice warrior. This one wore no armor, only shimmering emerald robes over a thick military uniform. But it too bore a helmet, a tall and coned one with a sinister red visor across the eyes. Skaldak held out both his arms and bowed his head. The Ice Lord raised a single clawed hand.
Skaldak, you were forbidden from making contact with us.
It spoke slowly, its breath quivering.
Forgive my disobedience, mighty Ice Lord,
Skaldak replied, bowing his head once more.
But I come, bearing an offering, that I might find reinstatement.
He crossed the room and pulled down a large lever. The monitor flashed with images of Earth gripped in its freezing winter, and the Ice Lord studied them.
As you can see, the first phase has already begun. Mankind will freeze in the bitter winter of vengeance, and once it is done, I offer this world to you, Ice Lord. What need have I of this backwater planet?
The Ice Lord responded coldly.
You know as well as I that our defenses cannot hold forever,
Skaldak reminded him.
The only way to stop the flood is total glaciarization, and this will make our planet uninhabitable. I will make the Earth into our new Mars, and with it we will save our race from an eternity wandering in the stars.
The Ice Lord pondered for a moment.
If this will please you, mighty Ice Lord. Revenge against mankind alone is not enough to restore your honor, Skaldak,
he replied.
Your report mentioned another whose words were directly responsible for the clouding of your judgment. If you are to return to Martian command, you will need not only the extermination of the humans, but also the death of this Doctor as your credentials.
Skaldak grinned a shimmering, toothy grin, flicking another switch and altering the monitor's image once more. This time, as a large icy wall lifted away, the tall blue shape of the TARDIS faded into view, locked behind a shell of distorted light. Its engines straining and whining, and its lights flickering through the square windows.
I have the Time Lord's machine,
Skaldak sneered.
He is trapped on Earth and will die with the humans. We can then probe his mind and extract the secrets of time travel from his cold, lifeless husk.
The Doctor and the Brigadier ran out onto the observation deck of the base. All around them the freezing wind whipped by, hurling thousands of tiny snowflakes through the sky. All was white as far as the eye could see. Even the sky was a tainted white, so bright that they had to shield their eyes. Carson struggled up onto the deck, fighting against the wind as he passed the Doctor's coat and scarf flailing wildly behind him. "Carson, I can't see a damn thing from up here," Stewart shouted over the noise of the wind. "Just a moment, sir. Watch the sky," the soldier called back, and the three of them looked up at the vast clouded sky. Carson looked down to his watch, and then back up again. "And now!" All of a sudden, a massive wave of shimmering blue energy pulsed through the sky, rippling the clouds and drawing the winds off to the west. Stewart went to call to the Doctor, but the Time Lord was already holding his sonic screwdriver at the sky. He could barely hear it buzzing, but he could make out the flickering blue light on the emitter. The Doctor drew it back and stared at the readings, before charging back inside without a single delay. With a huff, the Brigadier followed. They hustled up the corridors. The walls were beginning to steam with freezing air all around them. "Doctor, what in the devil is going on?" Stewart called after him. "We have to get back to the control room. Whatever Skaldak is doing, he's doing it now," he called back. They burst into the control room and dashed across the floor. The doctor buzzed the screen with his screwdriver and the readings flashed up on all the monitors. Neither Stewart nor Carson could make most of them out. Just a bunch of circular shapes all turning and dotting across the screens. But the charts were simple enough, and there were an awful lot of red lines. That pulse was a planetary alignment field. It's drawing the weather patterns towards the North Atlantic, towards Skaldak's ship. "What on earth for?" Stewart asked. The doctor buzzed again, and the image shifted to a widescreen view of the Ice Warrior's ship, still hovering over the Atlantic. But this time the clouds around it were blackening, swirling into a vortex above the spaceship, lightning flashing all around as the pulses grew more and more frequent, drawing more of the clouds in and forming a massive weather pattern above the ocean. The central column of the ship was rotating faster now, and the claws moved with it. The storm surged around, and the lights blurred into streams. "It's spinning like a top up there," Carson blurted out. "Doctor, what's it doing?" Without warning, there was a massive explosion. The room shook and screens flickered, lights fell from the ceiling and smashed on the cold stone floor. Soldiers stumbled and fell all over as the violent tremors rattled the entire building. Struggling to hold himself up, the doctor glanced at the screen. From the base of the Ice Warrior's ship, there was something new. A beam. A column of pure energy was blasting its way down from some huge emitter beneath the spaceship, falling down to the ocean below and burning its way through the waves. No, not burning, but freezing. "Of course," the doctor suddenly said. "The temporal distortion fields all producing a massive storm system across the world, and then the alignment pulse draws them in, dragging them all to the ship, which harnesses the power and refines it into a projected energy beam." He ran his fingers back across his forehead. "A massive sub-zero cannon, powerful enough to... That's what he's doing." "Doctor, what are you saying? What's he doing?" the Brigadier called, and the doctor turned to him, his face cold and serious. "He's terraforming," he said. "Fundamentally altering the environmental conditions of the planet, shifting them permanently. He's not just going to bury Earth in snow, Brigadier, he's going to freeze it to the core." And us?" Carson struggled to say over the noise of the shaking room. The doctor turned to him. "What happens to the human race?" "We die with the Earth," the Brigadier replied. "We all freeze to death, and all because a Russian punched a Martian." "Well, technically he cattle-prodded him," the doctor corrected him, staring back at the screen as the beam pulsated with energy. "I don't know what to do. I can't get up there without my TARDIS, and if I can't get up there, I can't stop him." On the monitor, the first layers of ice were beginning to form on the surface of the ocean. He could see it happening, first the ocean, then the ocean floor, through the crust of the mantle, to the outer core, and then the inner core, frozen solid, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He glanced over to the Brigadier, clutching onto the control desk with both hands and staring desperately back at him. He had to do something, but what could he do? This was Skaldak's endgame, and the game was coming to an icy end.